Hello, everyone, and welcome to this transfer special episode of the Albion Obsessed podcast. We come to you today after it has been revealed that Marc Cucurella's transfer saga looks like it will be finally coming to an end. In fact, by the time this video goes out, it may have already been confirmed by the club. But before we jump into that, let's see who we've got on this morning. We welcome Joe. Joe, my friend, how are you doing?
Hello. Yes, I'm all right, thank you, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing grand. I'm not quite sure what day it is because I'm on my summer holidays and I'm just
It's
living my best life.
Friday.
Got to
No,
get down
okay,
on
sorry.
Friday.
Joe,
That's
never do that again, Joe.
how
Never.
Rebecca Black, how we miss you. Aaron, we welcome you back to the show, mate. How are you?
Good, Tom. Thank you, mate. Yeah, all good. Good to be back. Good to be back for the start of the season. I'm looking forward to it. Should be good, mate.
Definitely. It's good to have you back, brother. And we also welcome back everyone's friend, Kurtis friend. Kurtis, mate, how you doing?
Not great after that terrible joke, Thomas. But otherwise, I'm pretty good. Feeling minty fresh.
It's actually a well-known thing, Kurtis, that when you become a father, you are gifted a book called Dad Jokes. And Joe can attest to this because as soon as you have that child, you get this book given to you from the universe.
I've actually got a book in my drawer. If I could be bothered, I would find it and read it out to you. But yeah, I'll spare you.
Maybe another
You
time.
know what? I'll take your words for it. Yeah, that's fine.
AO does dad jokes. But today's episode, guys, is not a joke because today we're going to talk about the man, Marc Cucurella, whose transfer saga has been rumbling along for a good couple of months now. So quick little background on what's been going down. So it came out the news, I think, June time, that Manchester City were apparently interested in signing Marc Cucurella. And everything went very quiet for a while until Zinchenko moved to Arsenal. When that deal was confirmed, suddenly everything was blowing up about Marc Cucurella going to Man City. And a particular journalist, yes, that's Marc Cucurella, not Todd Miller, if you're not sure. A particular journalist had been saying for a while that it was definitely going to happen. Marc Cucurella was definitely going to go to Man City. He only wanted City. He only wanted to play under Pep. Now, I think, Joe, you were very adamant on the group chat that when that interest was confirmed, you were very much of the opinion that it was definitely going to happen. I know it's all well and easy looking at this retrospectively, but when you saw that rumor with Marc Cucurella going to City, would you have just bet your house that that was going to happen?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're a club like us, and it's no disrespect to what we're building and what we're doing in the Premier League, but when you're a club that isn't going to compete financially, when a massive club like Man City come in with massive money, well, what should have been massive money, obviously, because they haven't paid, and it's clear that he's obviously now going to Chelsea. You just think, okay, yeah, the player's going to want to force his move to that club. And yeah, it's the move is going to happen. When, like in the past, when like Basuma's been bid for, I've thought, oh no, that's it. Like Ben White, obviously, when he went, when Arsenal came calling, it's just one of those things you have to deal with. With a club like us, is that big teams are going to come in with big money for your big players, and that's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, definitely. Especially after last season's, good finish, best finish in our history. It was not that surprising that some of the established top six sides were going to come in and see if they could cherry pick some of our players. And it was very much a bit of cherry picking, was it? Not Aaron, because Manchester City reportedly came in with bids of around 30 million. Did you see that offer as a bit of a, bit too low for the club? Were you a bit offended by that offer?
Yeah, it was an insult. I think we made it very clear that if City wanted the player, you pay the money. Similar to Ben White's scenario last year. If you want White, you pay the asking price. Nothing less. Just pay what we want. And it was always rumoured that it was 50 mil plus. And I feel like City were like trying to bait. They were lowballing us. That's exactly what they were doing. And to be honest, I feel I used to think Man City was, you know, sort of the be all of end all of English football. You know, you move to Man City, you move to Liverpool, and you've made it in English football. But then things like that, when they start lowballing smaller clubs, which we are compared to City and etc., it just makes me you don't have a God-given right to sign players for, you know, below their asking price because you're Man City, because you got Pep Guardiola. It doesn't work that way. Like we held our own, which is impressive to start with, because a lot of chairmen would have buckled and crumbled and gone, all right, yeah, we'll take 40. It's only 10 mil, you know, it's fine, it's not an issue. And Bloom said, no, we want the 50. If you don't want to pay it, then don't get the player. It's literally as simple as that. And that's why I don't think the Man City fans on Twitter didn't understand. You pay, if you want the player, you pay the money. If you don't pay the money, you don't get the player. Don't care if you're Man City. I don't care if you're anyone. If you don't pay the money, you don't get the player. It's so simple. But yeah, clearly they do not understand the world of football. Clearly, yeah, money, pretty much.
It's quite funny, really. Again, there was a lot of analogies going around at the time about, you know, you wouldn't go into Tesco and say, oh, the fair price for this, I don't know, this packet of biscuits is actually 50 pence. So I'm not going to pay the £1.20 that Tesco wants. And if you don't let me have it for 50 pence, I'll claim that you're holding these biscuits in jail against their will.
I think Joe said something pretty similar with the Lamborghini. And it's spot on though. Like, I don't understand, you know, yes, it's a fair price, but let's be honest, 50 million for Ben White was us basically valuing him as a future prospect and how much he's going to be, not how much he's worth.
Yeah, that's really important.
100%. Because Cucurella is going to be, he will be worth more than 50 million. You know, we know that. But realistically, he would have 4 years left on his deal. So the minimum will be 50 million before we even get going. And Arsenal obviously built up like City did, 30, 35, 40. And then the end is when we'll just pay the 50. And that's fine. Like, I don't have no issue with that. To be honest, I don't even have an issue with Marc Cucurella himself, to be honest. It's his agent, I feel, has been pushing this move, not him per se. I don't think he's helped the situation. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like his agent has been the one sitting with him and going, oh yeah, but we had a really good season. You know, we can get Champions League football this year. We can, you know, push for trophies. You know, put in a transfer request. Let them make sure they lower their offer. You know, that'll make sure, you know, they really want to go, want you to go. And I think that's not helped. And obviously with the unnamed journalist who's turned a bit of a fraud in the last couple of months. Less said about him, the better. But I feel like those two have been working together to push the price down, in my opinion. It's a shame because I feel like he actually had quite a lot of credibility to start with, and then with the whole City thing, oh, it's done deal, it's fine, you know, it's all good. It's not, like, you know, it's just not, and we'll go into that a bit later, I think.
Yeah, and let's just talk about that valuation then, because you've raised some really good points there, Aaron. So obviously, Man City came in with a derisory bid of £30 million, but the club have said no, it's 50 million plus, because 4 years left on his current deal. He's a player that we don't want to sell, we don't need to sell, and he's also incredibly versatile. If you think about the different positions that Cucurella played in last season, he played at left wing back, left back, and a left centre back. So for us, you know, we'd have to. I genuinely think that we're going to have to get in two players to be able to do what he could do. When he was on the pitch, we could transition from a back three to a back four to a back five like that, and it made our football really fluid. And we could do that without making any substitutions. We could do it in the game. So the value of Marc Cucurella isn't just about what Man City value him at; it's about what he's worth to us. And I totally respect. I totally respect that Man City might not think he's worth that, because if they just want him as a backup left back, they might think, well, you know what, we're not willing to pay that. So that's fair enough. But the arrogance from Manchester City fans, Aaron, as you've alluded to, is just staggering. It's like they think that just because they're Man City that they can come in, throw in some low ball bids and have them accepted. Now, Aaron, do you think those low ball bids you were talking about, do you think they were designed to unsettle Marc Cucurella?
Yeah, of course they were. No, of course they were. I think in any sort of transfer saga, you don't want to go straight in with the asking price. You know, it's similar to like if you're buying a house, you don't, you know, you want to start off a tiny bit low and then work your way up to sort of you negotiate the best deal. But we made it very clear that even last year with White, like I said, 50 million, you want it, you want him, you pay the money. Same with Cucurella, you want him, you pay the money. And City just didn't. Simple as they didn't want to put the money in into another fullback, that much money. But then again, they spent £50 million on Ake last year. You got relegated with Bournemouth, and the fact they didn't rate him as highly as, rated him higher in price wise than Cucurella is ridiculous to start with. But you're spot on with the how versatile he is, and I think that's why he is worth the money we got for him. Regarding the two signings, I'm not sure. I think Colwill will be good, I feel. But then with rumours of other centre halves potentially leaving as well, it will free up opportunities for sort of the lads who come back from on loan from last year. Just it's going to be an interesting rest of the window to see what we do, and go from there really.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But just before we come to that, Kurtis, so as Aaron's alluded to, lots of low ball bids from Manchester City to unsettle Marc Cucurella. And it worked in a sense because Marc Cucurella supposedly put in a transfer request, which was rejected by the club. Does that change your perception of Marc Cucurella, Kurtis? Do you think it's soured, has soured the relationship between fans and the player?
Me personally, no. I still think you can't ignore the fact that he had an incredibly good season with us, and he put in a great shift, and he cared about it, and you could really tell. Just seeing, the passion he had when he scored that goal at Man United and things like that, he really cared
Does
about it.
Does that not make you sort of a bit disappointed?
Yeah, I mean,
he grabbed the badge.
Yeah, sure.
And now
sure.
the first big offer has come, and he's like,
yeah.
I'm gone.
I mean, I'm more bitter at the fact that we're losing him as opposed to sort of anger at him for these things, because it's been said before. I mean, why wouldn't you want to play for one of these big teams? It'd be silly of you to say like, oh, I don't want to play for Man United, Man City, Chelsea, maybe Man United, but one of these other teams. And yeah, I personally have no issue with the guy. I mean, I wish him luck in the future, but I can guarantee he's going to get a bit of a frosty reception when he comes back to the Amex. But I just think that people are just losing their head about the whole situation. I just think they need to look at it as in more of a straight line. We've just bolstered our bank account by quite a large amount, and I think that it's going to be exciting what we can do with that amount of money. Hopefully, address positions like the midfield. If we lose Mope, address that situation, and just going forward the left back situation. But we'll talk about that. But yeah, overall, I'm not particularly bothered. So.
I think you do raise a very good point there, Curtis. I don't think any Brighton fan would begrudge Marc Cucurella from wanting to play in what is arguably one of the best teams in the world under, again, what is arguably the best manager in the world in Pep Guardiola. No one could argue or, dismiss that. But I suppose there's one thing you could say for Biz and for Ben White as well, looking at like the Leeds saga with Ben White. They never handed in transfer requests. I think that's what stings the most. Not 2 months ago, he was grabbing the badge in front of the North Stand after scoring in tears, player of the season. I think that's the bit that irked me the most. And I suppose it's one of these things where it almost feels like there's no loyalty in football. But then I have to remind myself that as a fan, I love this club. Marc Cucurella is a footballer with no emotional ties to Brighton, no emotional ties to the area above what he's come in and done over the last year. So, of course, if established top 6 teams who are going to be playing in Europe come along, knock on your door and say, we're going to triple your wages. We're going to give you a chance to play in Europe for European football. What do you say? Of course he's going to say yes. And I have to keep reminding myself of that fact. But it does sting.
I mean, I totally get why people feel the way they feel about it, and they're more than justified to. But I just feel like they need to look at it with different eyes. Like you're not best friends with him. He's
well, not anymore, Kurtis.
No,
not
exactly.
Anymore.
No, but he's a football player at the end of the day. He did his job for the club, and he's been paid to move on, and that's just what's going to happen. So
to come back with the loyalty in football, there isn't loyalty in football anymore. There hasn't been for a long time. It's very rare you get the one club man. We're lucky to have one of those in our midst with Lewis.
And it's also worth mentioning there, Aaron. Lewis did put in a transfer request.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly that. And, I think, like I said, with loyalty, it's not there in the football anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. It's such a rare thing, like a Mark Noble, like a Lewis Dunk. Even going back as far back as Gary Hart. It's never. We're lucky to have those players who've been here for everything, and nowadays it's just money orientated, which is fair enough. Like Kurtis said, you can't begrudge a player for wanting to progress his career financially and with obviously an opportunity to win more trophies. Let's be realistic, going to a bigger team. It is. It's a shame to lose him, but I get the frustrations of how the transfer request would have seemed. And to be fair, when I saw it come up on Twitter, it was a bit like, okay, well, it is what it is. I think when the City rumours started, I was pretty sort of knew it was going to happen at some point. Just thought it would be City rather than Chelsea, but I'm glad it is Chelsea rather than City, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'm glad it's Chelsea, just to piss off some of those arrogant Man City fans, because there were lots of them on Twitter. A lot of them were like, "Oh, bookmark this tweet because he's going to be a City player." And it's all like, "Well, that worked out well."
I wonder how that. Remember that we shared that video out about that guy from TikTok. I wonder how he's dealing with all this situation.
Yeah.
Brighton and Hove Albion FC. Brighton and Hove Albion FC. Let him go. He's ours. Blah 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 blah.
Well, apparently he's not. So the Man City deal never happened. No matter what that particular journalist said, he is not going to be a Manchester City player, for the foreseeable future. Instead, Chelsea came along, Joe, and they tried to, I suppose, not hijack the deal, because Man City had already sort of made it clear that they weren't going to step in. And some, things have been happening behind the scenes. But Chelsea, they haven't mucked about at all. They've put in a deal that is reported to be worth a flat £55 million, with potentially £7 million in bonuses, for a guy that we bought in last season for £16 million. That is an incredible bit of business, is it not, Joe?
Yeah, it's the highest transfer fee we've ever received. I think it'll be the highest we receive for a long time.
Isn't it also a left-back record as well, I believe?
Yeah, I believe so. So he's now obviously the most expensive left-back in world football. If you see him as that. I don't know why Aaron's laughing, but
Aaron, maybe stat, by the way. That is
crazy, isn't it? It's true.
Because there's been some world-class left-backs in time, and Marc Cucurella is good. He ain't as good as Carlos. He's not as good as Ashley Cole, etc., etc. So that stat itself is crazy.
Yeah. I would even argue he's probably not the best left-back in Europe. I think, when you think about a few seasons ago, Alphonso Davies for Bayern Munich, he's absolutely tearing Europe up.
I would agree.
He's probably not the best left back in Europe, but he is the most expensive, and I like it.
He is. Yeah, but I think if you look forward to the future, if Alphonso Davies does move on, you're probably going to be looking at 80-90 million pounds if he was to leave Bayern, but he seems pretty happy there. But yeah, no, it's incredible business for us, for a club like us to get potentially £62 million in the bank over the next however long those add-ons go on for. Whether that's if Chelsea win a trophy, we get this much. Then yeah, as you say, Tom, it's really good, and I just hope that we can put that back into our account and reinvest in the squad because we're going to need it. Paul Barber said last night on the fans forum that they don't want to be leaving Graham Potter with a depleted or a weaker squad than last year. So I hope they follow through with that ambition and really give him the funding and the recruitment to bolster the squad to give us the best chances in this season. Obviously, we look forward to the future with all of our youth prospects, but we have to look at the now as well. And I hope we do that.
Yeah, we'll come along to speak about that in just a moment. Let's talk about that fans forum then, because one of the first things that was raised by Paul Barber was the report that went out. What day are we on Friday? So Wednesday evening, saying that a deal had been reached for Marc Cucurella, and then the club made the unprecedented move to put out a statement that said no deal had been struck. Now, Aaron, we were on the group chat and we just couldn't get our heads around it because it had never been done before. What was your sort of impression when that statement came out? And now, looking at it retrospectively, now thinking about that it is going to happen, what was the point?
I think the point it was to basically just show that the media outlets are just trying to chat absolute nonsense to a certain degree, saying a deal has been agreed, it's all done and dusted. He will be a Chelsea player by the end of the night, and the club, I think, rightly so, just went, no, that's not the case. It was like, you can't make up this sort of stuff, which well, that's what they were doing, and that's what they've been doing during this whole entire saga. There's been so much media hype about the move that don't get me wrong, when the deal. When there's rumours of him going to Chelsea, they were going to pay the money. It was going to happen. Like, it is going to happen. We all sort of knew that. Even when the club sent the tweet out, it's fine. It may not happen now, but it will happen. Like, it was generally just it was quite funny, to be honest. I've never seen a club sort of stand up to the rumour mills on Twitter, like Paul Barber said, and in the fans forum yesterday, which I thought was a pretty classy response. I have to admit, I did find that absolutely brilliant. I thought, does it make us look silly? No, I don't think so. I think it sort of shows that we don't take ourselves for mugs. We don't allow the media to run these sort of things if they're not true. And yes, it's true now. 48 hours later, but it wasn't then. So why come out of it? And I remember when it came up on Twitter, I was downstairs. I was stunned, but I was genuinely just so stunned. I've never seen anything like this in any transfer saga as long as I can remember. Right, I can't remember a club basically calling out the media outlets. And we turned over to Sky Sports, and we could still see on the breaking news Brighton agreed a fee or Chelsea agreed a fee with Brighton for Marc Cucurella. And I was like, that's not true. Like, it's literally not true. I can see it on my phone. It is not true. And then come the following after the commercial break, it was gone. And it was like, well, there we go. It's like you can't trust what the media outlets say. We knew that anyway. Like, obviously, let's be real. They're there for one reason, is to get people to interact with them. Fair enough. It is what it is. It's money for them. And over time, it's gradually got worse and worse with the media outlets. They just pump so much crap out that you end up believing it. And is some of it, at least, let's say, 80% of it is probably true? Probably 80% of it. And then you've got the 20%, which is utter nonsense. But it's always the 20% they want you to look at more. It's because they're just trying to make up stories and make up, transfer rumours just to get people interested. And, I think a certain Twitter Superman, I will not say his name, he's got a lot of things spot on, but it's always the ones he's got wrong people sort of are hooked on straight away. And I think he has lost credibility. I think a lot of the outlets have lost credibility, but I feel like he's a puppet master to a lot of them, in my opinion.
I think he's had a bit of a mare, hasn't he? And Kurtis, you've been quite vocal on our group chat about him.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of he who shall not be named, to be honest. And I have a big problem with a lot of those sources and things like that. And because it's sort of like one person says something, it's like, oh, my friend cleans the floors at the Amex and he saw Aaron Ramsey hypothetically coming in and he's going to sign for the club, and then that goes to someone else and it goes to someone else and it gets beefed up and then it's beefed up, and it's bloody stupid why we carry such weight in transfer boy or something on Twitter, and we're like, oh, we should just wait to see what the clubs say ultimately, And again, these big sources, even, they only know a certain amount or what they're fed. So we just need to just ride the waves and just see what the clubs announce ultimately, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I
At the end of the day, sorry, Tom, just to say my bit on this, it's just primary school crap, isn't it? Really, it's like Chinese whispers all over the place, and after this transfer window, I'm very much taking the old-fashioned view that my dad always says to me, like, until you see them holding up the other club shirt in a newspaper on the club's website, don't believe a bloody word of it, because we've seen so many times in the past transfer roller coasters of players being outside training grounds waiting to sign the contract, but the deal isn't actually going through. So it's just utter nonsense. And as you say, Aaron, it's just these like massive people in the media world that are trying to essentially just write a story or write a little film or a little pretend in their head just so they can get clicks and follows.
100%. And I think, like you said, Joe, the way I used to look at it was until Sky Sports announced it, it's not happened. But even they're losing credibility. So it's like, it's literally is go back to as soon as the club announces it, done. That's it. Like you see rumours all over Twitter all summer, even throughout the season when the window's shut, you'll still see rumours. It's going to happen, but that's because people want to stay relevant, And when there isn't a transfer window, they will just pump out absolute nonsense. To be honest, and some of the nonsense can be true. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, there's always the 20% odd chance that it's not. It's just literally for clicks and follows.
See, the thing is, everybody's after the big scoop. Everyone wants to be able to literally report this big player going to this big club for this big amount of money, so they can be like, "Ha, I got this before you did." It's all a big dick measuring competition. Sorry for swearing, but that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something my nan used to say: even a broken clock is wrong twice. Shit, I fucked that up, haven't I? Even a broken clock is
Even
right.
Tom is wrong twice a day.
I'm only twice though, Kurtis. Only twice. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So yeah, so as Aaron says, it's the scattergun approach. If you just put loads of crap out there, one or two of them is going to be right, and you can say, "Look at all the things I got right." But anyway, so the deal is going through. We are led to believe because our own Andy Naylor has come out and said it. And Andy Naylor is one of the journalists I trust. He doesn't get everything right, but I think he gets 99% of things right. And one of the things that we are being led to believe that sort of held up the deal from our end and Chelsea's end was a certain player coming the other way. So it was long established that Brighton had been interested in Levi Colwill, and there was hope that he'd be coming to us as either a part of the deal or we'd get sort of like first refusal of the deal. And it sounds like he is coming to Brighton, Joe, but only on loan. Now, for a club that have historically come out and said, we don't want to loan players in, we don't want to develop other teams' players, it all seems a bit strange, especially because there doesn't appear to be a buying option at the end of the deal. What are your thoughts on this, Joe?
I'll give you a very quick answer. I refer you to the club's comments about the loan system. And to be honest, if it is just a loan, I don't want him. I'd rather have Clark. I'd rather have Van Heck and develop what we've invested in. It just seems to be one of those deals where it's like, why? But then, like Aaron has said in the group chat yesterday, it's cover for this season for a position that we're going to lose out on. He's
But do
left-footed.
we need it when we've got Matt Clark, who was the player of the season for Derby when he was at Derby, the player of the season for West Brom? I understand that Levi Colwill's got a really high ceiling and he's young and he's impressive, but unless we're going to have some sort of option to buy him at the end of it, why not just give Clark a go?
Yeah, I mean, if the deal's going to happen, it's going to happen, and we just have to sort of, deal with it and accept that he's going to be part of our squad for next year. It's not an awful thing. Don't get me wrong. As we said, he's a really good young player who done really well for Huddersfield last season. They got to the playoffs, and he was a huge part of that. So it'll be exciting to see what he can do. But then you've always got it in you that it's exciting. You're getting excited for a Chelsea player who's going to go back to Chelsea next season. A little bit like Fikayo Tomori. Went back to Chelsea, still wasn't in favour, then forced his move to AC Milan in Serie A. And then we'll lose out on another great young English centre-back. So it's a bit of a weird one. But as I say, if the deal goes through and he's part of our plans, then I'm excited to see what he can do in a Brighton shirt, because at the end of the day, anyone that pulls on a Brighton shirt, I'm going to support them.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, John. I don't think any Brighton fan will really come out and say that they aren't happy that we've got a reinforcement, because I think that was very much a part of the deal that Brighton wanted to get someone in to replace Marc Cucurella almost instantaneously. But I'm just going to come back to Matt Clark, because I do feel a bit sorry for him, because Matt Clark is a naturally left-footed centre-back who we brought in just before we brought in Adam Webster. So he must feel like a bit sort of like, what does he have to do? And as I say, he was player of the season at Derby when he was there. 2 seasons in a row, I think he was at Derby, but I could be wrong. And he just come back from a really good loan spell at West Brom. And obviously living in the Black Country, I know that West Brom fans rate him really, really highly. In fact, they wanted him back for this coming season. Now, I'm not saying that Matt Clark is Premier League quality, but I don't think Levi Colwill is at the moment either. So for me, it just seems a bit mad that instead of seeing what Matt Clark has to offer as a left centre-back, we're giving that opportunity to fight for that place for Levi Colwill, who for me doesn't get in ahead of Webster or Veltman or Dunk. So it just seems a bit, if we're not going to have him long term, I'm just a bit, where do you stand on this, Kurtis?
I'll let Aaron take it. He's been waiting.
Well, I was going to come to Aaron in a minute and talk about some of the responses on Twitter. So I was going to let you go first, and then Aaron can have his moment.
Well, of course, the loan thing, of course, it's a bit odd for us as we don't tend to do loans and what have you. I mean, do we know off the top of our heads, because I do, what was our last loan?
Aaron Moy.
Yes, very good. 5 gold stars for you, Thomas. Well done. Yeah, I mean, if this is what's going to happen, then it is what it is. We'll have to deal with it. I've seen all these people online saying stuff like, "Oh, let's hope there's a gentleman's agreement in place, so when it's all done, we can maybe sign him." And it's like, nah, come on, no, why would they do that?
Not in modern football. In modern football.
Yeah, there's no gentleman agreements in modern football. Definitely not. Pretty much. But to echo what Joe said, when he puts on the shirt, I'll support him, and I hope that he can get on. I hope he can get some game time. But I do agree with you, Tom. I do struggle to see where he can get in over certain other players. The Matt Clark thing as well, what you were talking about there. He's never going to... You're saying that you're not sure if he's Premier League quality, but we're never going to know unless he actually plays. So, I mean, he's set to, I think, go out on loan to either Stoke or West Brom. So we'll just have to see what goes on.
Yeah, I mean, we brought in Adam Webster from Bristol, and he wasn't proven Premier League quality, and look how well he's done. It just seems to me that, as I say, if he's not going to start ahead of Webster, Dunk, or Veltman, I just don't see the point. I really do not see the point. And now, I was saying this in the group chat last night. I'm not angry. I'm not raging about it. I think I'm a bit baffled. And listeners and viewers, please pop your comments down below, because I'd love to know what you think about this Levi Colwill loan signing. But some people on Twitter have been overreacting. I can't believe it. People overreacting on Twitter. And Aaron, you quite frustrated by some of the responses to the club bringing in a player on loan. Some people are saying that we've bottled it. Some people are saying we've been mugged off. Do you think these people need a bit of a reality check?
A little bit. At the end of the day, we're getting a very, very good young player on loan for a season, completely free of charge. Like completely free of charge. That'll be one of the agreements. If we're not going to sign him permanently, it has to be logically. You pay his wages, we'll take him for the season. Yeah, it has to be. Otherwise, it would be a bit stupid. I just don't get the overreaction of we've bottled it. We've had our pants pulled down. We've got potentially £62 million for a player we spent £16 million on last summer. Yeah, just let that sink in. Ignore the loan. Take the loan out of it. The Cucurella deal itself is a phenomenal business from the club. It is. It's sensational. But then when people add the line back in, like you said, why are we taking him on loan? It gives us instant cover straight off the bat. The rumours of Clark and Duffy going to start with, and I think Clark and Colwill are two very different types of players. I think Clark is a bit more of your old school centre half, in the sense of he's good in the air, he's strong. Where Colwill is very quick, good with his feet, and that's the type of player that I feel that we are losing in Marc, and he will not ideally slot straight in. He's not going to, but he will have a better chance than Clark and, to be fair, and Duffy, for example, if we're going to go out and out centre halves. Because I think Duffy, like I said before during last season, I think he started off really well, then he had that horrendous slump in form, and maybe it is time for him to move on. Maybe it is time for him to go, which would be a shame. But with the Twitter people, that sounds ridiculous, but with the guys on Twitter, just remember where, I know we keep saying this, but remember, one, where we've come from, and two, look how well our recruitment system has done in the past, especially under Graham. Let's not look back at the Jan Batch and Locadia days, because they were special in whole different types of words. But we don't recruit players because don't bring in loan players in because it's not really the model of the club. But to push this deal through, why not take him? There's literally no downside to this, other than if he does perform extremely well, then we may not have a buy-in clause, but we'll have one season. It's going to sound like Palace and Gallagher, to be honest. That's how it's going to sound like what I'm about to say. He'll have one good season, and then he'll go back to Chelsea and sit on the bench, or even start, because they're running low on centre halves as it is. And I get the frustration. I do. I do get it. And yesterday I may have been a bit harsh, but that's because I just don't see the need of losing your absolute head over it. Again, it's £62 million. That is a lot of money. We can make it rain. We can make it rain, and we now can go out and hit up big targets and give them the money that they want as players and clubs, and to get them back into the club. It may not be this summer. What we've got. What is it? It's a 5th of August. So we're.
Interesting question.
We've only got a handful. That was my Apple Watch just popping up there. We almost, we just started August, so we've got another sort of 20 odd days to get through the transfer window. Is that going to be enough time to be a replacement with him? Probably not. But if it is, it would be someone we've scouted before. It would be someone we've had our eye on when City were after Cucurella. So be patient. The club must have a plan. Come back to me the 1st of September, and then I will give you my honest review of this deal. Because at the moment, there's still time to get everything in order. It's not ideal that the season starts in 48 hours' time and we're losing one of our best players who's not going to be ready for it, and we've got no replacement for him straight away. But then Just be patient. Just be patient. It will work out. Potter and Bloom and Barber have a plan. Trust the process. Sound like Mikel Arteta and Arsenal fans, but trust the process.
I'll add to that, Aaron, and just say there's been amazing players before Marc Cucurella, and there will be amazing players after Marc Cucurella as well.
We just managed to replace him with Cucurella, so it's fine.
Exactly. Next season, we'll be raving about somebody else, and they'll be the best player to ever pull on a Brighton shirt. I'm not taking anything away from Marc and what he's done for the club, because he has been utterly phenomenal, and it's been a joy to watch him run down the wings and watch that fluffy hair flow. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's going to be more players, and we just have to support the ones that want to be at the club and are at the club.
Yep. And don't forget, guys, we've got Todd Miller, and he's got pretty massive hair as well. So when he comes up to the senior squad, which will hopefully be soon, we can start singing about how massive his hair is. So let's talk about replacements then, guys, because we've spent a lot of time talking about Marc. So let's look ahead to the future then. As we've already said, we've got Levi Colwill coming in, who gives us an immediate cover as a centre-back, a left-sided centre-back. But as I alluded to earlier in the show, Marc Cucurella could play left centre-back, left back, and left wing-back. Now, I don't believe we need another wing-back. I don't, not on the left side, because I think we've got Trossard, who's played there at the end of last season, looked excellent, and also plays there for Belgium. You've got Solly March, who played there in the 2020-21 season, and we were talking about him getting an England call-up because of how good he was at left wing-back. And then you've also got Matoma, who was utilised there by Royal Union Saint-Gilloise, who of course play in the Belgian league, so I know that's different. But you've got three players there who can relatively play as attacking left wing-back options, and I do think it's worth putting respect on Solly's name, how good defensively he can be. So I don't believe we need another left wing back, but what I do think we need is a left back, or someone who can play left back / left wing back as well. Because, as I say, we played a lot of games last season in a back four, and we were all crying out for it to go away because we didn't perform as well. But it's one of those things that we have to accept that Potter will probably want to utilise at some point. So for me, the top of my shopping list is a left back. I don't know who that is. I know there were links to Ajax, an Ajax left back, and there's been links to an RB Leipzig left back and some other, Dutch league players as well. But where do you think, Joe, that we need to strengthen? Do you think we need more reinforcements down the left side of defence? Would you like to see a Basuma replacement? Because as Aaron said, I mean, we've took a lot of money this summer. I mean, Basuma, we sold him for about 35 million. Cucurella went for 62. Dan Burn in January went for 13. Ben White went for 50. We've got a lot of money that has come into the club. And it seems that, as Barber says, they want to reinvest that. So Graham has a squad to push on. So where do you think, buddy, that we need to reinvest that money?
Yeah, I think the club have to be quite careful, because it's very clear to the fans how much money we do have to reinvest in the squad. And again, I've mentioned it on a podcast previously. I'm not trying to spend Tony Bloom's money. I understand how much money he's put into the club before anyone jumps on my back for that. But we, as Paul Barber said yesterday, we don't want to leave Graham Potter with a depleted squad. I think we're maybe one injury away from a really weak midfield. I think McAllister and Caicedo will do a really good job, but if one of those gets injured, then we've got to rely on Alzate, who I do rate, by the way. I do rate Alzate, but he's not had the most minutes that he would have liked, so that will take him time to get up to speed. A 35-year-old Adam Lallana we have to rely on as well, who didn't perform incredibly well last season. And then Wepu, who's extremely injury prone. So maybe one or two more options in the midfield I'd like to see. And possibly, as you say, Tom, another left back option that can fit in to the left wing back role as well, because I feel like Solly's going to play a lot on the right this season. And with Trossard, we know how he likes to go forward. He likes to play in advanced positions as well as the left wing back. So maybe if Graham Potter wants to utilise a different way of using Leandro Trossard, we need somebody to come in to play behind him as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer, as you say, Tom. Who knows who it's going to be? This club has a wonderful knack of just pulling players out of the air that we've never heard of, but go on to do really, really well for us. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And as I say, I just hope that we do see some reinvestment.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning as well, like the system we played at the end of last season that we've seen in pre-season, the whole one at the back idea of having Lewis Dunk stay back and letting Veltman on the right and Marc Cucurella, as it were, on the left to sort of make those overlapping runs. It really caught teams out last season, but it won't be long, I don't think, until teams realise what we're doing. And we might start thinking we need a more defensive option at left back or left wing back.
The thing is, Tom, like if us fans can work out what we're doing, I'm sure like Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have gone, I know what you're trying to do, but obviously we don't try and play that against Liverpool.
Why not? But yeah, I do rate what you say about the midfield, Joe, because I was on a dog walk today, and when I go on my dog walks on my own, I like to think about football. And what I was thinking about is I was thinking about our midfield, and I was thinking, yeah, Caicedo and Alexis McAllister, that's a good midfield pairing. But what we've lost in Basuma is we've lost a player who's going to boss that midfield. Like if we're winning, say 1-0, it's the 80-something minute, and we're getting absolutely overrun. You look to the bench, you don't have a player that you think is going to come on and calm things down. Not really. I mean, Lallana, really silky passer, but he's not going to go in for the tackles. You've got Alzate, who played really well against Chelsea last season, but as you say, Joe, has lacked minutes. And I just don't, I genuinely feel we need someone who's going to put in that number 8 box-to-box midfielder, break up play, calm us right down. And I don't think Caicedo's that man. Caicedo is great, but I don't think he's Basuma's replacement, and it would.
I think he's too young to do that role as well. I think what Caicedo does really well is break up the play and win the ball back and drives forward really well with no fear. But as you say, Tom, I don't think he's got that much of a calm head, and I feel like if he was on his own having to do that Basuma job, I feel like he could get flustered quite quickly. So I think it's right that we get someone with a little bit more experience in to cover. Because what you got to do with Caicedo is you just got to give him free rein. Just go out there, no fear at all, and have fun. That's where he thrives. So yeah, someone with a bit more experience would do him the world of good.
Definitely. Aaron, where do you think we need to strengthen in what little time we have left in the transfer window?
I think really what you guys have said really with the midfield. I think obviously losing Jacob to another operation for his knee, I think we'll not have to go back to the window for a midfielder, and ideally a left wing back. To be honest. Like you guys said, I don't think there's really anywhere else at the moment you could really say we desperately need to strengthen. Obviously, we've been after a striker for ever since we've been in the Prem, but I think
85 years.
It's just one of those things where if Neil does go, then we'll have to replace him, obviously. But at the moment, the likelihood of it's gone quite quiet on that front. I don't know if anything updated from there at all, but I've seen nothing in the last sort of 10 days or so. But if he goes, then obviously that's another position we'll need to look at, because obviously you can't expect Danny to stay fit the whole season. It would be great if he could. Don't get me wrong, it'd be fantastic if he could, but realistically, I don't think he's done that for a long time. And Undav be a bit unfair to chuck all that pressure on him in his first season. Bear in mind he scored an absolute hatful last year. But again, in the Belgium League, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. But looking to like players, especially the left back role, this is going to sound a very random one, but I wouldn't mind seeing Serge Reguilon. I think he's not really. Conte doesn't particularly like him at Tottenham, and I think he could actually slot in quite well. I think personally, but then that might be me thinking a bit ambitious, and also it'd be a very unusual move from us to get a
player someone's
heard of from a big club. So other than that, it'd be the likes of the guy from Leipzig that I believe he's in talks with Hoffenheim from what I saw on Twitter, and the Anderlecht left back Gomez as well. I think he would be more of a natural slot in for with Marc Cucurella, other than the fact is he's more of a proper left winger than a left centre back, left wing back. But we're still waiting to see. We still got time. The transfer window doesn't shut tomorrow. We've still got time. Granted, the season starts tonight, but it's fine. It's like I said, be patient. We'll see what happens come 1st of September. We're all good. Take a deep breath. Feel the zen. We'll be fine. All right? Have faith. Have faith. Woosa. Ladies and gentlemen, woosa.
I like that, Aaron, and I'm going to speak in a very calm voice for the rest of the show. Kurtis, where do you think we need to strengthen?
In at least 3 different positions, I think. Left back, midfield, and possibly a striker if we lose Neil. So just get ready for that.
Well, that's ruined the zen.
Crap out of me.
Sorry, I made it a bit sexual. I do apologise. Sorry.
It's fine. We forgive you. It's been a mad couple of days, guys. We've been round the ringer as Brighton fans, and we've called it a transfer saga as if it's some sort of like ancient Greek play, the Odyssey.
To be honest with you, Tom, I'm sort of looking forward to it to being done. In the nicest way possible. Like it's all I'm hearing about at this point, and I'm just sort of in the camp of just put the Chelsea shirt on him already, just so we can move on from it.
It'll be nice for the squad as well to get some closure, because I feel like it is affecting them. I saw somebody tweet, they asked Veltman where was Cucurella at the pre-season friendly, and he just turned around, I would imagine quite bluntly, and said, well, he's not here, so make of that what you will. So I imagine it's probably, I don't know how it does affect dressing rooms, but I can imagine it's not really a very nice thing to see one of your best players leave or act the way that he's reportedly been acting.
So apparently Tuchel has said the deal is done in his press conference.
Well, there you go. So Chelsea have confirmed themselves that Marc Cucurella is going to play for them next season, which means that Brighton will receive a flat fee of what is reported to be £55 million, with add-ons taking it up to £62 million. A fantastic bit of business, albeit it is a bit depressing to see our player of the season for last year go, and in the manner in which that has happened. We do wish Marc Cucurella all the best. But thank you very much, guys, for joining us on this Marc Cucurella special episode. In my head, I was only going to have this as a half an hour, but there's been so much to talk about.
It was a heated debate and topic, obviously. So
yeah, sorry about that. That's probably me waffling on for the first 10 minutes, just utter nonsense. So I apologise to everybody watching or listening to that. So
Hey, Aaron, it's their choice. This is what podcasts are for.
That's true.
That's true. It's to talk absolute nonsense about football that we somewhat understand.
And if you enjoy the waffle, share it, tell your friends, all the Brighton supporters and all that, get them watching. We really appreciate all the nice comments and feedback and stuff. It means a lot to us, so thank you for that.
Also, as well, just to plug again the Mental Health United tournament, which is happening tomorrow, the 6th of August. It's behind the Amex at the University of Brighton pitches. If you are free, please come down for an amazing cause. It's to support grassroots suicide prevention, which is very close to Mental Health United's heart, obviously. So yeah, come down. There's lots of activities, lots of food, lots of football going on. So yeah, if you're not going up to Old Trafford, I know it's not tomorrow, but people are making their travel plans. Come on down and have a good time.
Yeah, and we wish Mental Health United and Lancing Warriors all the best for tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a fantastic day, and what a really well worthwhile cause. So mad props for that. So guys, thank you for joining us on our Marc Cucurella special. We will have our thoughts on Manchester United also coming at you hopefully tomorrow before the game at Old Trafford. So join us for that. But in the meantime, guys, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content if you haven't done so already. We'd also like to hear what you think about the whole Marc Cucurella saga. Is £62 million a fantastic bit of business? Is he overpriced? What do you make of Levi Colwill coming in on loan? Please do let us know on socials or in the comments down below. But in the meantime, guys, have a great day, evening, afternoon, night, wherever you may be, whenever you may be. Take care.